There's a particular kind of person who doesn't quite fit into the rhythm of constant connection that everyone else seems to need. They're not broken, they're not damaged, but something happened early on that taught them a truth most people spend their whole lives avoiding, that being alone isn't the same as being lonely.
Maybe you knew someone like this. A childhood friend who used to be right there beside you. Sleepovers every weekend, hours on the phone, inseparable at school. You did everything together. Then somewhere around middle school or high school, something shifted. They started declining invitations, taking longer to respond to messages, choosing to stay home when everyone else was going out. You text them on Friday night. Everyone's meeting at the park. You coming? And they'd say, not tonight, maybe next time. Next time would come. Same answer. Eventually, you stopped asking, assuming they were depressed or going through something. But when you'd see them at school, they seemed fine. Not sad, not withdrawn in that concerning way, just different. More comfortable in their own space than in the middle of yours. And here's what confused you most. They were still a good friend when you did connect. Warm, present, genuinely happy to see you, but only for an hour or two. Then they'd check the time, say they should head home. Not because something was wrong, just because their battery was empty. And you couldn't understand how someone's battery could drain so fast from simply being around people who cared about them. Or maybe you've known the other type, the master of the politeness shield. The person who's perfected the art of declining social interaction without ever seeming rude. At work, when coworkers invite them to lunch, "Oh, I appreciate that, but I actually brought something I need to eat before it goes bad." At family gatherings, when relatives push them to stay longer, "I'd love to, but I have an early morning tomorrow." When friends suggest weekend plans, "That sounds great, but I'm actually behind on some personal projects." Every excuse is perfectly reasonable. Every decline comes with a smile. They're never mean, never cold, never directly rejecting anyone. So people can't even get mad. But they do get confused. Some think this person is incredibly busy. Others suspect they're lying but can't prove it. The genius part? They can maintain this for years. They show up just enough to not be called antisocial. They respond to texts with friendly messages. But actually getting close to them, actually spending real time with them, it never quite happens. If you've ever been one of them, you know the weight of that question everyone keeps asking. Why are you like this? And maybe you didn't have an answer. Maybe you just knew that groups felt exhausting, that small talk felt like performance, that being alone felt like finally being able to breathe. But here's what nobody tells you about people who choose solitude. It's rarely a choice made in a vacuum. It's a conclusion drawn from evidence. And that evidence, it was collected early. Let me tell you what happened in the homes of many people who grow up to be loners. It wasn't always dramatic. Sometimes it was, but often it was quieter than that, more insidious. It was a home where expressing needs was met with irritation, where showing excitement was met with dismissal, where being vulnerable was met with mockery or indifference. Not every time, maybe, but enough times that a pattern emerged. Enough times that a child's nervous system started cataloging data. People are unpredictable. Connection is risky. Safety is found in withdrawal. Psychologists call this emotional neglect, but that term doesn't quite capture the texture of it, because the parents might have provided food, shelter, even affection sometimes. But what they didn't provide was consistent emotional attunement. They didn't mirror the child's feelings. They didn't create space for the child's inner world. So the child learned to stop sharing it. They tried to talk about something exciting, shut down. They tried to express frustration, dismissed. They tried to be vulnerable, mocked or ignored. Eventually, they stopped trying. Not because they stopped feeling, because they learned that feelings are safer kept inside. And here's where it gets interesting. That child didn't just learn to hide their emotions. They learned something deeper, that other people are exhausting because other people require performance. You can't just exist around them. You have to manage them. Manage their reactions, their expectations, their needs. In a healthy home, a child learns that they can relax around people, that connection is nourishing. In these homes, the child learns the opposite, that connection is labor, that people drain you, that the only place you can truly rest is alone.
So, if you're someone who feels most at peace in your own company, if you're someone who finds social interaction exhausting, even when it's with people you genuinely like, this isn't a personality flaw. This is an adaptation. Your nervous system learned early that solitude equals safety, that being alone means you don't have to perform, don't have to manage anyone's emotions, don't have to brace for dismissal or criticism. You could finally just be.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. That adaptation that protected you as a child, it can become a prison as an adult. Because now you're not in that childhood home anymore. Now you're surrounded by people who might actually be safe, who might actually want to know the real you. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It's still running on old programming. It still treats all connection as potential threat. So you keep people at arm's length with polite excuses. You keep friendships surface level. You choose solitude not because it's what you truly want, but because it's what feels familiar.
There's a concept in psychology called attachment avoidance. It describes people who learned early that depending on others leads to disappointment, so they develop a fierce self-reliance. They don't reach out when they're struggling. They don't ask for help. They convince themselves they don't need anyone. And on the surface, this looks like strength. Look how independent they are. Look how they never burden anyone. But underneath, it's not strength. It's a wound pretending to be armor. If this is resonating with you, if you're realizing something about yourself or someone you know, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Because content like this, the kind that actually explores why you are the way you are, instead of just telling you to be more social, gets buried under algorithms that prioritize noise over depth. Your subscription tells the algorithm that this matters, that honest conversations about solitude and self-protection deserve to be seen. So subscribe. Help me keep making videos that understand you instead of trying to fix you. Because here's what those childhood experiences taught you: that your needs are too much, that your presence is overwhelming, that the safest way to exist is to need nothing from anyone. So you became small. You learned to take up less space. You learned to disappear into your own world where no one could reject you because no one could reach you. And maybe that's the truth most people completely miss about loners. They're not antisocial. They're self-protecting. They built walls not because they don't want connection, but because the walls work. The walls keep them safe. But here's the beautiful part. That takes years to learn. You can honor the adaptation that kept you safe while also recognizing that you're not that child anymore. You can acknowledge that solitude was once survival while also admitting that maybe, just maybe, you're ready for something more. Not constant connection, not losing yourself and other people's expectations, but selective, intentional relationships with people who've earned the right to see the real you. People who don't require performance. People who let you exist without labor. This doesn't mean forcing yourself into social situations that drain you. This doesn't mean pretending that groups don't still feel exhausting or that small talk doesn't still feel hollow. You don't have to become someone you're not. But it does mean asking yourself honestly, is my solitude a choice or a defense? Am I protecting my peace or am I protecting a wound? Because there's a difference between choosing to be alone because it nourishes you and choosing to be alone because you're terrified of what might happen if you let someone in. So if you're someone who's always felt more comfortable on the edges, who's always needed more space than other people seem to, Know this: your childhood taught you that lesson for a reason. It was protecting you when protection was necessary. But you're not in that home anymore. You're not that child anymore. And maybe the bravest thing you can do now is not to force yourself into connection, but to allow yourself the possibility of it. To lower the wall just a crack. To let one safe person see you. Because the opposite of loneliness isn't constant company. It's being truly known by someone who doesn't make you regret it. And you deserve that. Not because solitude is wrong, but because you've spent long enough believing you're too much or not enough to be fully seen. You're neither. You're just someone who learned early to protect themselves. And now you get to decide if that protection still serves you, or if it's time to build something new.